Now that it's October, it's the spookiest time of the year, and I thought now would be the perfect time to finally play Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines.
It's time to play the game. Time to play the game!
This game has been on my radar for a very long time because, come on, a game where I can roleplay as a vampire and wear cool outfits.
Yes! Come to Papa!
So I bought it on Steam, downloaded the unofficial patch from ModDB since it's highly recommended to do so, and I began my evil, scary, and twisted playthrough as a cool girl vampire. I ended up really enjoying this game and I have a lot to say about it, which is why I'm making this video. I'm not gonna spoil too much, but some parts of the main story and side quests do get revealed, so tread carefully. So first things first, allow me to introduce some of the lore behind the vampires in this game, because as we all know, vampires have many different interpretations across various forms of media. The vampires in this game are also pale or kind of gray, have sharp teeth, they can't be out in the sunlight, and they do have to suck human blood. However, I don't think garlic really does anything to them, and putting a stake through their heart, I believe, just paralyzes them. It doesn't actually kill them. The act of turning someone into a vampire is called the embrace, and unlike a lot of other media, a simple bite to the neck does not transform people into a vampire. Their blood has to be completely drained, then transfused.
It's like that stupid anime girl meme where she's in the hospital bed.
So anyways, when you begin the game, you of course build your character, and the first choice that appears is choosing their clan. There's 7 clans you can choose from, each having their own culture, features, and 3 disciplines, which are basically just special abilities that each kindred, or vampire, has.
But everyone has unique superpowers.
My character was a Tremere, so she started with Auspex, Dominate, and Thaumaturgy. Tremers are basically vampire wizards that do blood magic, like boiling people's blood. I mean, how could I not choose that one? Playing as the different clans can really change up the gameplay and dialogue, like how the Nosferatu are a little odd looking.
Yeah, what a little bit long! Oh, sweet Jesus!
Or how the Malkavians are just straight up crazy.
What? Oh, man. And you're a goddamn Malkavian, too. Wow. You really are fucked.
Every clan honestly has really cool disciplines and other unique strengths and weaknesses, so I'd highly recommend spending lots of time looking at each one to see what type of playthrough you want to do. While you can't customize your character's appearance, which is usually one of my favorite parts about role-playing games, you can still put points into different attributes, abilities, and disciplines, which, like the clan selection, can change up the playthrough quite a bit. When you actually get into the game, you see some other unplayable clans, like the Tzimisce and the Giovannis. Screw the Giovannis and that stupid mansion. And of course, you cannot have an RPG without having factions, and this game has some really cool ones to learn about. First up, we got the Camarilla. In the LA area, they are led by Prince LaCroix. The Camarilla are a little snobby, elitist, and traditional.
You guys all think you're so much better than me.
Oh, Meg, that is the least fancy thing I have ever heard.
One of these traditions, the most important at that, is the Masquerade.
He said it! He said it!
It's a campaign that was made to ensure humans do not discover the existence of kindred by any means possible. If you violate the Masquerade or break any of their other traditions, they usually take lethal action. However, some people aren't happy with this level of control, like the Anarchs led by Nines in LA, who stood up for us and led to the prince deciding not to execute our character. They still follow the Masquerade and keep in contact with the Camarilla, but they overall don't exactly agree with their rules. There's the Sabbat, who are just out-of-control vampires that wreak havoc, and the Kuei Jin, known as the Kindred of the East, with a culture that's very different from Western vampires. All of these different clans and factions have their own interpersonal drama that I just absolutely love, and I think it makes the lore of this game and the series as a whole very interesting to learn about.
Ew, item gained, fleshy ball.
There's also plenty of other supernatural beings, like ghouls, who are humans that become bloodbound to a vampire after, you guessed it, drinking some of their blood. This also makes them into the vampire's servant and quite clingy.
Well, fine. You're just some ugly fledgling bitch.
I'm like, what do you say fuck me for?
This game also has zombies, ghosts, werewolves, and these things. Oh, and although they aren't supernatural, this game does have cute rats. So moving on from vampire politics and the lore, let's talk a little about the story and gameplay. So first and foremost, this is one of my favorite stories I've ever seen in a game. It starts with a bang, literally since your character was presumed to be banging someone, becoming a vampire, narrowly avoiding final death, and learning about your new undead form. After a sort of tutorial with Smiling Jack, who might be my favorite character, he's chill as hell, your character is sent to their fabulous apartment in Santa Monica with an area just waiting to be explored and emails to go through on your computer. Exploring is one of my favorite things to do when I play games, even if it's not open world, and I spent over an hour just meandering around Santa Monica, not even doing a specific quest yet. I did this with the other major cities in the game as well, which are downtown, Hollywood, and Chinatown. There's a few specific locations you travel to for parts of the main story, but the 4 city areas are where the bulk of the game takes place. These areas are kind of small, but still vast, and especially in the downtown area, I found myself even getting a little lost. The world in this game is just so fantastically designed. Each city has a dark, mysterious, and sometimes raunchy atmosphere that fits the tone of the game perfectly. And some areas, like that LA mansion where the snuff film was shot, are genuinely creepy, disturbing, and gave me the spooks while playing.
Holy crap.
The soundtrack is pretty bangin' too. It sounds so 2000s in the best way possible and fits the game so well. I also really like that there's news outlets in this game, like the newspaper, TV station, and the Dead of Night radio show, which all report on events happening within the world and quests that you've completed. I think it's a really neat addition that really adds to the immersion, and it kind of shows the weight of your actions. Like, I really did place cameras into a woman's house to expose a secret of hers that ultimately led to her ending her own life. I got $400 though.
Money!
Oh, and I also like that you actually type into computers. It sounds stupid, but it makes me feel like a little hacker. Okay, so enough yapping just about the game's world, let's talk about the quests. There's so many amazing quests in this game, both main story and side stuff, but I think some of the most memorable ones are the Ghost Haunts at Midnight, which has you explore a hotel that is haunted by restless spirits, with a very interesting story tied into it and is genuinely quite scary.
Jesus Christ.
And there's also a Plague for the Angels and More Fun with Pestilence, where you hunt down the people who are rapidly spreading a deadly disease in the downtown area.
Smack that bitch.
I also loved exploring the insanely confusing yet fascinating mansion of a Malkavian primogen, Dr. Grout, and going to Griffith Park. If you know, you know.
Smell that? Smells like smoke. We gotta get out of here.
But like I said earlier, these are just some of the most memorable and some of my favorites, and I think almost every quest in this game is pretty fun. Oh, except finding the Nosferatu Warrens. That was kind of a pain. I think a lot of the quests in this game are really fun and enjoyable because of 3 big reasons. For one, they're pretty unpredictable and will often take some crazy twists and turns. One second you're just looking for some crazy snuff tape, and the next you're fighting man-made horrors beyond your comprehension. For 2, most of these, and the game as a whole, have some insanely good writing, whether it's funny,
But you can call me Fat Larry with a F-A-T, cause I know I got a weight problem, I just don't give a fuck.
Hey, what's that on the counter? That's not my margarine. That's butter.
It's...
Bitch! You know I'm supposed to watch my LDL levels?
Besides, I never trust anybody with an X in their name.
or just genuinely good dialogue.
Tell me, child, are you scared? Do I frighten you? Is my knowledge of you unnerving?
Remember, wherever we go, it is the blood of Cain which makes our fate. Farewell, vampire.
And that's not to mention the sheer amount of dialogue this game has just based on your character's clan and build, and even other characters' reaction to that, which is what all role-playing games should have in my opinion. And third of all, these are not your average fetch quest, and don't use quest markers. Most of these tend to be a little more complicated. The item you're looking for might not even be there, the person you're looking for will be dead or difficult to find, and sometimes you'll just have to ask, do research, or sneak sneak around and play a vampire detective to solve these mysteries. I found that solving quests with little help from the game felt much more rewarding than just going to an area clearly marked on a map, picking up the item, and just giving it to an NPC. Now keep in mind, I don't think quest markers are a bad thing, especially if it's a big open world game, but I do think they can sometimes make games feel a little mindless. And not having them forces the player to explore a bit more and figure things out themselves. Or just look it up online if they get stuck.
Who the fuck is this?
All of these reasons come together to create quests and storylines that are very interesting, unpredictable, and fun. So getting into the actual gameplay, I also love the Masquerade and Humanity system this game has. So anytime your character reveals their kindred form or any kind of supernatural shenanigans to humans, like releasing a bunch of zombies into Hollywood, then you get a Masquerade violation. If this happens 5 times, it's game over. You can also get Masquerade redemptions by doing the opposite and preventing humans from seeing or telling others about supernatural shenanigans. So the Masquerade system can really change up the ending of certain quests, but it also means you have to be extra careful when feeding on people. It's usually recommended just to do it with nobody else around, like by following a person down a dark alleyway.
I've suddenly got the urge to walk down that dark and foreboding alley over there.
But you can also seduce them, in which case you can do it right in public with no repercussions. And you can also, unless you're a Ventru, suck the blood out of rats. If you're a complete monster, that is.
Girl, get out of here. Can't you see I'm trying to look at this rat? Jeez.
And like I mentioned earlier, there's also a thing called Humanity, which is sort of like the karma system in Fallout 3 in New Vegas. So your character's humanity is doing good things for humans, like not completely draining their blood while feeding, or just being helpful and keeping them out of harm's way. This is what keeps vampires in this universe in touch with the human they once were, and it helps to calm the inner beast that resides in all of them. And I mean this in a literal way, like they literally have a beast that can come out if their humanity gets too low, and if they're also low on blood. If the beast takes over, which is also referred to as frenzy mode, you completely lose control of your character and they go on a feeding and killing spree.
Feast mode activated. #hungry.
So going frenzy around innocent civilians is really bad for obvious reasons, but I went into frenzy mode during a boss battle and it actually kind of helped me win, so cool, I guess. I think having these systems made me a little more careful about how I chose to handle certain situations, especially when humans are involved. And although I always think RPGs should let the player be evil, I do like when there's consequences for your actions.
Stop right there, criminal scum!
One last thing I'll discuss is the game's ending. So basically, at the very end of the game, you have to choose who exactly you want to side with to take over LA because of the sarcophagus and war. And your options here are the Camarilla, the Anarchs, the Kuei Jin, or you can go independent and side with nobody.
I'm not loyal to anybody. I'm a demon.
With other games I've played where you choose a faction to work with, I usually have no trouble making this decision. I typically go with whoever I feel the good guys are, because I'm boring and like to play as a hero character, or whoever I think would be the best option for the game's world.
Patrolling the Mojave. This makes you wish for a nuclear winter.
But in this game, I kinda struggled with making up my mind. I honestly don't know which faction would be the best to rule Los Angeles. Throughout the game, I worked for both the Anarchs and the Camarilla, and I could certainly see the benefits of both factions.
Tell them to bring me my money. Yeah!
Aside from stupid LaCroix, of course. The Kuei Jin really aren't as fleshed out as the others, but from what I saw and heard from other characters, they aren't really trustworthy. And after pondering my vampire orb while talking to the cab driver, who may or may not be Cain, I ultimately went with the Anarchs because I wanted to stick it to the man, and nah, who am I kidding? It was mostly because of Jack. Come on, he's way too cool for me not to side with. And all things considered, I'm quite happy with my choice. Despite all of the praise I've given, this game isn't without flaws. It's very 2000s in a good way, like the music, fashion, and design elements, like that blood mouse cursor. But it's also very 2000s in a bad way.
Hey baby, only $20.
That was really bad.
This game is almost 20 years old, so there are some bugs and a bit of jank.
Oops. Oh no, I broke it.
But I personally don't find the graphics themselves to be too outdated. I think it's very stylized, kind of going for a cartoony look rather than trying to be super realistic. The combat is not that great in my opinion. With melee or hand-to-hand combat, you can't really lock onto enemies, so I had to frantically move my mouse around just to find them and then quickly scroll through all of my disciplines all at the same time. Yes, there are key bindings, but I didn't find them to be very helpful and I kept forgetting to even use them while playing. The guns can be used in first-person mode, so that's a bit easier, but I honestly ended up doing melee a lot more. A vampire with a gun is cool, but a vampire with a katana and magic? It's a little bit cooler in my opinion, but guns certainly get the job done too. I also severely underestimated how useful the sneak skill would be. I didn't put too many points into it at the start since I really wasn't going for a stealth build, but so many quests seem to highly recommend or sometimes require you to be stealthy. A lot of areas are just filled with enemies, and even if you use your best disciplines and weapons, they'll probably end up ganging up on your character. I was able to sneak around for the most part, but I usually had to just give up at a certain point and pull a... I also saw some areas while playing and wondered if it was meant to be more or have more content, but I just figured that Troika, the studio who made the game, probably didn't have enough time to flesh these areas out. And sure enough, according to Tim Cain, that was the case. But on the bright side, the Plus patch actually added some of this unreleased content into the game, which is pretty neat. The ending feels a little rushed too, but it was still really satisfying. Once again, if you know, you know. But those are really the only issues I have with this game. Some of them aren't even issues, and I still think the good outweighs the bad overall. Like I always say in my videos, if you haven't played this game, which I guess means you've gotten some stuff spoiled for you, then go play it. Because even if you know the general plot, this game still has so much to discover. I played way more of it than I thought I would because it's so easy to get lost in this world while playing, and I got borderline addicted at one point. I guess you could say, aside from some issues, this game is quite immortal.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Well, thank you all for joining me in this extra spooky yap session. Happy Halloween from the top of the Venture Tower, where I'm about to Millie Rock LaCroix. Huh, that bat thing sure is huge. Wait, is he throwing something at me?
Oh my god, what the hell?